Alrighty, Thomas. So, apologies again for how long it's taken to get this hitting video over to you. It's been a little bit stressful at work, so I've been pretty backed up with these videos, but kind of getting them all out right now. So, we're going to talk about your hitting mechanics. We've already talked before in a video about your pitching mechanics, but really today I want to talk about your hitting mechanics, comparing your swing to the guy who is below you, which is his name is Mike Trout. He's a really great baseball player, really great swing. So we're going to really talk about a few things about hitting and where we're going to get to with our lessons, especially since we're coming back into it next week. We're going to really kind of work on both pitching and hitting, but this is just kind of like a pre-lesson, if you will, of what we're going to be talking about a little bit more in depth with hitting. And I hope that this lesson is really going to help with allowing you to see kind of your swing compared to a major leaguer swing. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to play both of these videos at the same time, and then we'll kind of talk about it. Okay, so a couple things about this video. So one thing that you do really, really well, Thomas, is you get into your hips really, really well. And you did the same thing with pitching as well, right? If you take a look at you and Mike Trout's hips, you both really get yourself into great positions, right? You have really good hips, Thomas. You really do, okay? So with that, what I really want to work on is with your bottom half here of really taking it towards the pitcher mound. And I know we've talked about that before, but take a look at what Mike Trout does, okay? Whenever he picks his leg up like this, he immediately, and we've talked about this 45-degree angle beforehand, okay? That 45-degree angle comes in handy because that is how we build power, okay? We've done the drill before where if we're standing just straight up, we really don't have any power. But when we get in this 45-degree angle and we try to pick our leg up, we immediately have to go forward, right? So that's kind of the same principle with this video, or rather with this 45-degree angle, okay? So as you notice, he gets himself straight down and also squared off with his feet, right? If you were to put a straight line between Mike Trout's feet versus your feet, whenever you land a little bit in front of your back foot, which is okay, but especially at your age, we really want to teach and do of putting whenever we lift our foot up, that we go straight to the pitcher. And from that's also going to help us with our hips and our shoulders as well. So that's the first thing. Second thing is I want you to take a look at whenever Mike Trout is hitting, take a look at what he does with his top hand versus what you do with your top hand. As you'll notice, we talked about beforehand with staying at our peak, right? You've really gotten a lot better, Thomas, since day one of really keeping up there with your hands and allowing them to go to the baseball by connecting your elbow. And as you notice in this video, you do a really good job of connecting your elbow to your rib cage. The only thing, though, is I want you to take a look at Mike Trout's elbow right here versus your elbow right here. You're going to notice with Mike Trout's elbow, he connects and then allows his hands to work through the baseball, right? For you, if you notice, your elbow's going through, which is causing you sometimes to be a little bit behind on the baseball, right? Because your elbow is getting to the baseball before your hands do, if that makes any sense. So that's another thing that we'll continue to work on. But since day one, Thomas, you've really improved on that, and I want you to keep working on that because you're doing a really great job on that, okay? The next thing that I want to talk about is take a look at Mike Trout's shoulders versus your shoulders real quick, Thomas. So we talked about beforehand of keeping our shoulders square to the plate and keeping through the ball, right? So if you take a look at Mike Trout, notice whenever he throws his hips, he doesn't open up, right? He stays straight. And if you were to take a look, his shoulders really kind of stay closed off, right? And if you recall what we've talked about with our hips and our shoulders, in order to stay towards the pitcher, we really have to think about keeping our shoulders towards right field, or really our hips and our shoulders towards right field. And the reason for that is because that's going to help us to take all of our momentum towards the pitcher, right? Instead, if we think to take everything down the middle like this, what that's going to do, if you take a look, that's going to allow our shoulder free rein to open up, right? And you actually do a really great job in this video, Thomas, of keeping your shoulder through. But as you can see, that's going to open up, because if you take a look right here, when Mike Trout hits, it's very hard for him to fly his shoulder open, right? For us, if we take a look at our hips real quick, our hips are opened up, which then, because of the momentum of the bat, can cause our shoulders to fly out as well with our hips, okay? The last thing I want to talk about is take a look at Mike Trout's lower half, right? We've talked about before with our back knee real quick, right? And if you see, we do a really great job of starting to get our leg to go with our swing, right? But if you kind of notice, what happens is whenever we try to swing, we kind of take our weight off our back side right here. And you can kind of notice it. You can notice, come on. There we go. You can notice, because take a look at what your foot does. It kind of lifts off the ground just a little bit, right? And you can see the weight kind of transfer from your back leg towards your front side, right? And if you take a look at Mike Trout's here, take a look what his backside does, okay? Is it stays connected into the ground, and we've talked about before this little, this A right here, right? And if you notice, we're also in that A position, right? But I want you to take a look at where your weight is, right? Your weight is transferring more at your front side rather than for Mike Trout. If you notice, if I were to put a line right here, his weight's down the middle versus ours is kind of right out in front of our front side, which is causing you to lose just a little bit of power. And especially like we talked about before, Thomas, you're a really, really powerful kid. And I really think if we continue to work on your bottom half, that we're going to get a lot more pop out of your bat, and especially we're going to see the ball start to really fly off that bat. So those are just a couple things that we'll continue to work on here with our hitting. But I really wanted to kind of put this video together so you can kind of see the difference between your swing versus a guy in the majors, and just kind of seeing the differences between their swings. So again, I hope this video really helped for you, Thomas. And obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to ask during the next lesson. Like I've said before, any type of question that you have is never a bad question. The bad questions are when you don't ask, right? So keep working really hard, and I'll see you the next lesson.